Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You join a video meeting at work. Same calendar invite, same familiar faces on the screen. Your CFO looks right into the camera and says, "We have to move money now. It's confidential. Follow the instructions." Everyone else in the call nods just like they always do. So, you do it, you approve the transfers, then you exhale. Only later, you discover the truth. No one else was in that meeting. Every colleague you saw was a deep fake, an AI-generated copy of your team. And the CFO who told you to move $25 million? Also fake. Yeah, let that sink in. In early 2024, a finance worker in Hong Kong was tricked exactly like this. A deepfake video call, faces, voices, mannerisms, fooled a real person into sending a fortune to criminals. We live in a time when truth can be copied and trust can be hacked. And that is not just a tech problem. That is a human problem, a spiritual problem, a revelation problem. Tonight, we're going to talk honestly about AI, the truth and revelation. Not with fear, but with clarity. We'll explore real stories from the last few years. We'll open the Bible to the book of Revelation and the words of Jesus, and we'll ask, how do we live wisely and hopefully right now? Deep breath with me. Let's go. First, the ground shifts under our feet. In January 2024, before a primary election in the United States, people in New Hampshire received a phone call that sounded exactly like the president, telling them not to vote. It was a deepfake voice clone, AI made and designed to confuse. Investigators traced it and it sparked new rules. The FCC moved to ban AI-generated voices and robocalls. Kinda crazy, right? A few weeks later, across the world, a small claims tribunal in Canada told Air Canada, if your chatbot tells a grieving passenger the wrong refund policy, you still have to honor it. The company said, the bot is separate from us. The court said, no, it's your website, you're responsible. Honestly, fair. And then there is facial recognition. In Detroit, a man named Robert Williams was wrongly arrested because a computer said his face matched a suspect. He spent hours in custody for something he didn't do. Years later, that case led to a settlement and policy changes, so police can't just lean on a glitchy match. Imagine that happening to you on an ordinary Friday. Now think about that pattern. Fake voices that sound real, fake faces that look real, automated tools that speak with confidence even when they're wrong. We are not just fighting lies, we are fighting believable lies. And that's a different battle altogether. Second, truth in the age of automation is complicated. Self-driving features make headlines. In late 2023, after a long investigation, US auto regulators pushed a huge Tesla Autopilot recall. Software updates, new warnings, changes to limit misuse. The goal? Keep drivers attentive, prevent tragedies. But even in 2024, regulators said Autopilot had been involved in deadly crashes and would keep monitoring whether the fixes were enough. Technology promises safety, but safety needs stewardship. The World Health Organization weighed in on AI in healthcare, especially new large multimodal models, like the tools we all hear about. They published ethics and governance guidance, protect patients, ensure transparency, test carefully, keep humans in charge. If you're ever tempted to let a chatbot make a medical decision, don't. Meanwhile, the world started setting guardrails. The EU AI Act became the first sweeping law on AI, rules based on risk. The higher the risk to people, the stricter the rules. It passed final approval in May 2024 and was published that July. Laws don't fix everything, but they do set the lines on the field. The US signed a big executive order on AI in October 2023, safety tests, civil rights protections, standards for government use. And in the UK, leaders hosted the AI Safety Summit at Bletchley Park, bringing countries together to warn about frontier risks and commit to cooperation. We're all trying to build a seatbelt while the car is already moving. Third, war is changing. Back in 2020, during the conflict in Libya, a UN report suggested autonomous drones may have hunted and attacked fighters on their own, without a human pressing the button in that moment. The claim is debated, but it shook people. Since then, the war in Ukraine has accelerated drone tech, AI for targeting, swarms, countermeasures. Researchers say full autonomy on the battlefield is coming fast, even if human oversight still plays a role. That sentence should make us pause. So when people ask, is AI mentioned in the Bible? They usually don't mean the word. They mean, is this kind of power, deception, control, and speed in the Bible's story about the end of the age? And the honest answer is, the Bible doesn't name our tools, but it names our temptations. AI just multiplies them. Let's open Revelation with humble eyes and a clear heart. In Revelation 13, there's the image of the beast that somehow speaks, and there's a system that pressures people with a mark to buy and sell. For centuries, Christians have asked, what does that mean? Is it literal, symbolic, or both? In the ancient world, a mark could be a brand of allegiance. In our world, identity is increasingly digital. Biometrics, phones, QR codes, wearables. Is the mark a microchip, a wallet, a pledge? The Bible doesn't pin it to any one gadget. It warns us about a system of worship and control around power that demands your allegiance. That's the core. And yes, in a world of AI-driven surveillance, face recognition, voice matching, and centralized platforms, pressure can look like access. Scan here to enter, verify here to buy, agree here to belong. You feel that, right? In Revelation 18, there's a vision of Babylon, a global marketplace of luxury and profit, merchants of the earth who mourn when the system collapses because their trade is gone. It's an image of economy as idle. Today, AI powers ads that know our desires, markets that move in microseconds, economies that optimize for clicks and speed. Does that make AI evil? No, but it means our hearts are temptable. If a tool can maximize profit and power, someone will eventually use it to maximize control. Human nature hasn't changed. And in Matthew 24, Jesus warns about false messiahs and false signs that deceive even the elect. That was true in the first century. It is true now, when anyone can fabricate evidence, video, audio, images, so believable that we question our own eyes. AI doesn't invent deception, but it turbocharges it. So if you ask me, is AI the beast? I'll say, no, AI is a tool. Worship of power is the beast. Surrendered conscience is the mark. A system that punishes refusal, that's the danger. AI can be used to build that system, which is exactly why people of faith must stay awake. Let's ground this in real life again, because the stories teach us how to live. First, the voice that wasn't a voice. We already heard about the deepfake robocall imitating a president. The call tried to keep people home from voting. Later, regulators banned AI-generated voices in robocalls without consent. If a stranger can borrow your voice, what else can they borrow? Second, the policy that wasn't a policy. A chatbot tells a grieving passenger, yes, you can get a refund afterward. The court says companies are responsible for what their bots tell customers. When AI speaks with authority, somebody human must stand behind that voice. Third, the face that wasn't the right face. A man gets arrested because an algorithm claims he matches a blurry photo. He loses time, dignity, and safety. Only later does the system admit error and promise to do better. The burden should never be on the innocent to prove they aren't a glitch. American Civil Liberties Union. Fourth, the car that watches you or doesn't. A driver thinks the car can handle more than it can. The system lets them believe that. Regulators step in and say, more warnings, more limits, eyes on the road. Automation without attention is just a slower accident. And fifth, the drone that thinks. Reports suggest that in Libya, an autonomous drone may have hunted targets without direct human control at that moment. Some argue the point. Either way, the direction is obvious. The decision to kill is moving closer to machines. That sentence should never feel normal. So what does Revelation give us here, besides symbols and apocalyptic poetry? It gives us diagnosis and direction. There will be systems, political, economic, spiritual, that promise salvation without repentance, certainty without humility, control without compassion. The image that speaks could be a statue or a screen or a model, something that simulates presence and authority. The mark may not be a barcode so much as a behavior, a pledge of allegiance. The book looks past the tech and goes straight to the heart. Who do you worship? Who do you obey when the pressure comes? Revelation keeps saying, here is a call for the patient endurance of the saints. Patient endurance is not passive. It looks like this: do not panic. Fear makes us gullible. Fear is clickbait for the soul. Do not bow. When truth is for sale, don't buy. When lies are free, don't share. Keep witness. Tell the truth even when it costs. Keep love. Without love, truth turns into a weapon. Keep hope. The last word of Revelation is not the beast, it's the Lamb and a new creation. We'll come back to hope. For now, let's build a practical toolkit. A discernment toolkit for the AI. Age first, slow down by 10 seconds. When a shocking clip hits your phone, wait 10 seconds before reacting. That tiny pause breaks the reflex to share first and think later. I use this rule myself, it works. Secondly, verify with an out-of-band channel. If your boss texts you to transfer money, call them at a number you already know. If your relative calls with an emergency, hang up and call them back. Your future self will thank you. Thirdly, look for AI tells. Hands, teeth, jewelry, reflections, text in the background. AI often muddles these. For audio, listen for odd breathing, cut-off consonants, and identical background noise no matter who speaks. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Fourthly, trust the provenance, not the pixels. A perfect video from a random account means little. A rough video from a trusted journalist with metadata and corroboration means more. Ask, who recorded it? Who else confirms it? Boring is good. Boring is how truth travels. Fifthly, demand receipts from institutions. If a company uses AI to talk to you, it should tell you, log it, and take responsibility when it's wrong, like that Air Canada case. Sixth, put your phone on a trust diet. Trim your feed, mute chaos accounts. Follow people who correct themselves. Humility is a signal of truth. Seventhly, for churches and faith spaces, teach people how deepfakes work and how to verify. Keep human pastoral care at the center. Don't outsource empathy to a bot. When you use AI, safely and clearly, tell your community when and how. Transparency builds trust. And eighth, if you build AI, adopt a harm forecast checklist. Ask, how could this be abused? Who could be hurt? What's the kill switch? Regulators are catching up. The EU AI Act, US Executive Order, WHO guidance, but ethics starts in-house. The temptations we must name: firstly, speed over truth. AI can make 1,000 clips in the time it takes you to make one, but truth has a different clock. The kingdom never runs on panic time. Second, control over conscience. When identity becomes a pass to enter, a code to buy, or a profile that predicts your future, the pressure to conform grows. Revelation warns us, the danger isn't a chip, the danger is compelled worship, compelled allegiance. Stand up inside, even when you sit down outside. Third, power over people. Autonomous weapons promise precision, facial recognition promises safety, predictive algorithms promise fairness. But every promise must be tested by one question: do the least powerful get more dignity, or less? If the answer is less, the system is drifting toward Babylon. And fourthly, cynicism over hope. Some people, overwhelmed by AI, say, nothing is true anymore. That is not wisdom. That's surrender. Truth is not gone, it just needs guardians. A few more true stories that help us think. Let's start with hiring bias. Years ago, Amazon tested an AI hiring tool that quietly downscored resumes from women because it learned bias from past data. The company scrapped it. Lesson: AI learns our history, good and bad. Now let's talk about global rules. UNESCO pushed the first worldwide ethics recommendation for AI back in 2021, focusing on human rights and transparency. That foundation influenced many later policies. Boring? Maybe. Important? Absolutely. As we say that, let's talk about warnings from pioneers. Geoffrey Hinton, often called one of the godfathers of AI, left Google to speak more freely about risks, misinformation, job disruption, and the chance that smarter systems could outpace our control. When the builders warn you about the roof, listen. In 2024-25, we saw text-to-video models like OpenAI's Sora, systems that can generate entire scenes from a sentence. Film-quality fakery is no longer sci-fi. It's here. We will need stronger habits of verification, and stronger hearts too. So, where does Revelation land us? It lands us at worship. In a noisy world, worship is where we say, God, you are true. Everything else is a rumor. Revelation is a book where empires boast, merchants mourn, beasts roar, and in the middle of it all, there is a lamb, slain, yet standing. That image changes everything. Power is not the final truth. Sacrificial love is. If you need a breath, take it now. Revelation shows pressure, buying and selling, marks and images, threats and seductions, but it also shows a people who refuse to worship lies. They are not perfect, they are persevering, they cling to Jesus and to each other. And God brings them home to a new heaven and new earth, where tears and death are gone. That's the last page. That's the spoiler we're allowed to keep. How we live, starting tomorrow 1. Tell truer stories than the machines can make. AI can copy style, it cannot copy your soul. Share testimonies, small mercies, local truths. Real beat synthetic. 1. Build trust rooms. In your home, your church, your team, create spaces where people can ask dumb questions about deepfakes, money scams, clickbait, and rumors. Make it safe to say, I'm not sure. Humility is contagious. 1. Keep a human in the loop. If you lead an organization, write this on the wall. We are responsible for what our AI says. Make guidelines, red team your systems, tell customers when a bot is speaking, offer a human path at every step. Air Canada learned this the hard way. 1. Practice digital Sabbath. Once a week be unreachable. The world will not end, but your anxiety might. 1. Teach young people to love truth, not just to spot lies, but to love truth enough to pay a cost for it. Revelation calls this witness. 1. Pray this simple prayer. God, give me wisdom to discern, courage to refuse, love to endure, and joy that can't be faked. A final story, because hope should get the last word. There's a detail in that deepfake heist from Hong Kong that sticks with me. The employee did feel something was off. They hesitated. They reached out later. Imagine if in that moment, they had a team culture where we never act on a secret request without a real voice on a known number. It could have saved $25 million and a world of pain. Sometimes hope looks practical. We can build that kind of culture. In our families, our churches, our companies right now. We can choose patience over panic. We can choose conscience over convenience. We can choose truth over trend. And as we do, we'll find the courage to live revelation, not as a code to crack, but as a call to character. When the image speaks, we listen for the voice of the Lamb. When the mark is offered, we remember we've already been sealed by grace. When Babylon dazzles, we invest in a kingdom you can't track with an app, one that runs on love, mercy, justice, and joy. This is our moment, not to be afraid of AI, but to be faithful with it, not to worship power, but to worship God, not to drown in noise, but to bear witness, quietly, courageously, consistently. And if all of that feels too big, start with this. Take 10 seconds before you share. Then ask, who is this helping? I'll leave you with the last page of the story. A city with open gates, light that needs no sun, tears wiped away, and a voice saying, behold, I am making all things new. That's where we're going. Stay awake, stay kind, stay true.